Oh. Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is the weekly video games podcast where we give our impressions of the games that you can play today and react to the latest news from the wonderful world of video games. We're here every Monday on your favourite podcast app and YouTube, absolutely free. This week, I'm joined once again by the free time Dimp Digital gaming quiz champion. It's Tom Adkins, but not Adcock. How's it going?
Not Adcock. I am good. How is that, Adcock? I see him walking up the high street yesterday.
So from all I know, he's good. Yeah, he's all right. I was going to text him today actually and just ask what he's doing on the gaming front, just to check in.
Check in.
I think like you and me, he hits these ruts sometimes.
Yeah, they are deadly. I suppose it's because these are a collection of games that we have completed and finished. We haven't had a rut, or certainly not a long rut for a while. I suppose the Euros we had a bit of a rut.
The rut, yeah, I definitely slowed down horrendously during the Euros.
Hard to do anything else but watch the football when that's
yeah, especially when they had a good run as well. I don't want to rake up old graves and think about the way it ended, but yeah, that was definitely disruptive because we actually stopped doing the podcast for a couple of weeks and chucked up Classic Tut, which again, big fans of in India, 60% market share over there, so they're loving life as they should.
People,
but we've got some more gaming impressions for people.
3 weeks running now. People said, "Oh, I'm good about the news."
Trouble is, like I've mentioned, this might be week 6. We might have had 3 weeks of absolute.
Well, there you go. You do get critics like fucking Salmon that go, "I'm sick of hearing Adkins week in, week out. Give us someone else."
Wow.
So we could be here in October.
The trouble is, even if it was a big news item, it's likely you'd be pulled in for it. So it would be you anyway on the hook, but that's the way it has to work, unfortunately. Do you need to get Salmon on? I want to get Salmon on for Steam Deck. Yeah, I think he will have a setup, I would imagine. He's normally got
pictures in. Just have that video of him getting shitted up by PT.
I will have to cut that in somewhere. It was PT.
No, it was.
It was PT, yeah.
So that replaying each fucking time.
If he doesn't video, I'll just have that loop. That can be his little picture. But yeah, I want to get him on for the Steam Deck, but his one's not going to arrive until Q1 2022, they're saying. So that could be past March.
Clarky's got one on order as well, but I don't know when his one.
A lot of them got pushed back, I think, unless you're in the first initial wave. They did get Steam back, but he's getting a Switch OLED, so maybe that's a chance just to have a chat about that, because he's obviously got a different perspective on the use of that, because we didn't bother getting one, as you shouldn't. Right, these video games that we've been playing, evidently. We got one here, which some people are saying, or is billed as like the first true next generation game. Instant loading, switching of worlds, unrivaled fidelity, Insomniac shipping another game inside a year because they just done Miles Morales. It's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. We get ripped apart, I reckon that's what the play on words is there.
All the names, like some of the previous, I was looking when you said about, this fucking game, it's got fucking, it's a sequel to about 8 games that are on the PlayStation 2. Go back and play them.
Yeah.
And then when I was reading all the games, the names, I was like, cool, Up the Arse one's cool or something, or Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal, yeah.
Up the Arsenal, Quest for Booty.
That's it, Going Commando.
Going Commando, these dirty bastards, these Insomniac boys.
Yeah, they need to be called out on that because it's not. I don't think it's allowed these days. But I think what Rift Apart is ripped apart. I guess if they're trying to, mate. I mean, it makes sense in some aspects of the game. But where do we start with Rift? So I guess the first thing is we ain't got to worry about platforms and what we played it on, because it's only on PS5. It's not. It's not even on PS4, so we don't even have to
Oh, it's the
talk about.
first through.
Yeah, well, what have
Thing
we
was
had?
on
Demon
PS4.
Souls,
Oh, cool. Yeah, did that one on thing, was it?
Returnal.
Miles Morales was on PS4, wasn't it?
Miles Morales was,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've had Returnal, Demon Souls, and now this. As we record this, I don't think there's another one coming, unless there's been some shadow drop in the time that we've recorded and published this. But we haven't got to worry about any tech conversation. We haven't got to have that awkward chat about it's on PS4, so has it been held back? So that could be saved for for Horizon, which has been delayed into 2022. Delay news, very late. Obviously,
Hmm.
people weren't happy about that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But I want to start with: have you played many of the other Ratchet and Clank games? Because I had only played the 2016 reimagining slash reboot, and I had assumed this would pick up off the back of that. But that's not quite what happened, and I'll explain what they did later on.
Oh,
But what's your Ratchet and Clank experience?
my actually the closest I came to playing one was getting a free one. I got that Quest for Booty on PS3
Right?
as a freebie for PlayStation selling my details.
Yeah, they
Just
got
remember this,
hacked.
they got hacked, and then they give you like two free games as a say a sorry.
Yeah,
And I chose, I think there's about 20 games you could choose from. I chose this and or Quest for Booty and an Infamous. I think it was the
yeah,
original Infamous. But never played it. So the only so my introduction was the 2016, which I was pleasantly surprised by that. Um,
yes,
I thought you've always had I suppose because of like the popularity of Mario, you've always had these 3D platformers, and there's always been these ones in the background: Jack and Daxter,
yeah.
Sly
Sly
Cooper,
Coops. Yeah,
this Ratchet and Clank, and they're ones that I've always known about, but never really had the urgency to go and play them. So I never touched any of them, to be honest. And then I don't really remember 2016 sort of. I don't remember much hype about it
no,
till it actually came out,
no,
and then people were like talking about it. It's like, oh, have you seen that game? It's like a fucking Pixar
yeah,
animation. And then I actually went in and I think was it like a PS. Oh no, I think I bought it actually. Think it has since been a PS Plus game, but I did go and
yes.
get it on one of these PS Plus sales. And yeah, played through it and was pleasantly surprised. I think there was a film that came with it.
That's it. It was the game that's based on the film that was based on the game. So it
Yeah.
was yeah, it was. I think that's why the hype was low, because people were like, "Fuck me, they're actually tying it into this new film or this new movie that just doesn't look great. It can't be anything other than awful." But I think again, once people got hands on the game, it was like, "Oh, actually, this is good fun to play." And I'm exactly the same as you. Had not even played or touched an old Ratchet and Clank. Completely passed me by. I don't know why, because
No.
there's no real reason for that. I guess I missed the PS3 era mostly because I only picked up like
Oh,
Uncharted
bullshit.
and The Last of Us really, and a few others like Metal Gear Solid. Like, I made sure I got that right at the end and played through them, and quite a few of the Ratchet games were on there. So this was like 2016 was like, oh, they're kind of restarting it. I'll have a go on that and jump on the train. I was like, yeah, this is good fun actually. And then we get wind that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's not going to be carrying on that timeline. Instead, it's going to be picking up from the last game, which I think was Into the Nexus. And there've been,
That's
I
it,
think
yeah.
there's 6 or 7 games previous to that with lore and whatnot. And I was a bit like, right. So what I did is what I do quite often now is the old games. I went back and watched like the movie version of each of the games. There was like this guy had put up like might have been 6 hours the video, but I just watched like one game like every week or something, kind of caught up that way to have a bit of a familiar setting here. Because I was like, right, they're going to be referencing things that I might not get. And I think for the most part, that put me in good stead. But I would say that the way they've done Rift Apart lends itself to new people, because we're pissing around with dimensions. So you're meeting new characters essentially throughout the game that haven't been explored in that way or looked that way. The only thing really that ties back to the old games is like, oh, that's Quark's new version of him. oh, he's
Right.
quite different. That's quite funny. Like you get that when you first start meeting them, you're like, oh, there's no parallel between these two. They're completely opposite. But other than that, you're meeting new people pretty much throughout.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably the only thing that's probably missed in it. So I think they've done about as good a job as you can when you got interest in an old franchise of a new game. But did you feel in the loop?
To be honest, I didn't watch any of
No,
those. I started to, but no,
I
I
sent you a
felt like
bloody video.
you did send me the link, and I did start to watch whatever the first one was, and it was so dated. I was like, cool. I watched about 10 minutes of it, and I kept putting it on before I was about to go to bed, and I'd fallen
Falling
asleep
asleep,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh fuck it. So in the end, I sort of went in a bit blind. But I felt like they did a good job in, like you say, bringing in the newcomer, and obviously because I've had I had one game history of Ratchet and
Yeah,
Clank. You, it wasn't too. You didn't need to know the lore. It's like most things, and it's nice to have that bit of backlog. But um, yeah, I feel like they did a decent enough job with newcomers to the series to sort of got in that boat and played it that way. To be honest.
yeah, well, I totally agree. So by the time I got around to playing this, they patched in this new 40
Oh.
FPS mode, which is only available if you've got a 120 hertz display. When you played it, you had 30 in fidelity, 60 performance, and then a 60 performance ray tracing mode. I'm assuming you went for the 60 RT mode, and
No, picked it 30. I did.
Adcock did.
Much. Oh, did he?
Sick. He's not
Cool.
an FPS guy. He wanted that 4K telly of his to be
See,
popping.
it's the thing. I used to be that guy. I used to
Yeah.
be the Adcox of the world. I used to say, oh, I can't drop down the resolution. Something like Uncharted, it doesn't need 60. But now these new consoles, I'm a changed man. And once I've done the worst thing you can do with these new games, exactly what you did with Final Fantasy. And I did. I tried the 31st. I was like, oh no, I tried the 60 and then
Yeah.
went back just to see if the visual. And I was like, cool. I can notice a visual downgrade in terms of resolutions. Stuff's not popping as much, not crystal. But the frame, it was too much of a slog, especially for this type of game. Um, because your sort of character's moving quite fast, jumping about the place, fucking
Yeah.
particles going
Dodging.
everywhere,
Yeah.
all that good stuff. And I couldn't deal with it. So I did, yeah, I went for um, the performance ray tracing mode, which it held up really well. Like the frame rate was good thing. So I did notice the frame rate resolution dip, but you did get that ray tracing
Yeah.
mode. Um, and yeah, I've got to say for it, it's gorgeous on that front in terms of graphics and whatnot. The ray tracing, it was like a watered down version of the ray tracing. Now having played that version, that you
Yes.
was you was nice. You seem to be hitting it off with these games. You get all these. By the time you keep playing these games, you get an extra bonus. I go and complete Final Fantasy. I give it to you. You get a PS5
I
version.
know.
I complete this game. I give it to you. You get an extra
I
version.
get the 40 FPS mode,
Yeah,
which
you get the
which,
40.
which
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes is the fidelity mode, but with 10 extra FPS. And it's just, I'm not going to try and pretend I understand why it is like this, but it's not quite just 10 frames more than 30. But the way the frame time, and Digital Foundry have done a video on it. The way if you look at, there's another graph like the frame timing. This actually sits right in the middle between a 60 on a 60 hertz and a 30 on a 60 hertz because of the 120 hertz input latency and stuff. It feels a lot more smooth than what you'd think just 10 FPS is. It's kind of like, it's almost like a midway point. And I didn't dare put 60 on at all until after I
No, no.
finished. But I did go
Right.
back to 30 and I was like, there is a noticeable... 10 FPS, you think, oh, that don't make a difference. And I was like, no, there's a noticeable smoothing out of just... the test I do is spin the camera around. If that feels like
Yeah.
it's going through fucking mud, then I'll be having
Yeah.
I'll be having questions of myself. But it felt a bit, not that great on the old fidelity mode. But on the 40 mode, it felt smooth. I could tell it was running a little bit slower than 60, but after 5-10 minutes, I was adjusted to that speed, and it was actually quite a nice way to play it. I went back and put the 60 FPS mode on with the ray tracing, and yeah, like you can notice the resolution. It's not as clean, but it's still really impressive. I don't know what I would do in future now that I've tried both. I'm not quite sure on what I feel like the optimal way to play it is.
It sounds like that version I had, to me, it was sort of the middle ground.
Yeah,
You got a bit of both of both worlds. You got the best of both worlds, but they were sort of watered down versions of. I think if they'd done like a comparison to the ray tracing you get in Fidelity to the performance ray
yeah,
tracing mode, it's slightly less, but this sounds like the best available option, I'd say, out of the lot, to be honest.
yeah. It was.
There's options. I remember Tomb Raider, you had quite a lot of options, didn't there? There was quite a few, and that was
Yeah,
before ray tracing was even
yeah.
available
That's
on these
it. Yeah,
consoles. So they sort of it's up to you. Like you say, you got Adcox of the worlds that aren't bothered by 60 FPS. I
yeah,
think it's fucking batshit crazy, but
yeah.
but then you've got us that are now frame rate whores.
Yeah, this was yeah. I can see why. I mean, for Master Race, they must be cackling, going, "What are these peasants doing?" But
Yeah,
it's just I just find it quite
Adkins
interesting how they leverage the I guess the restrictions of the tech and make such a good go of it, and then to introduce this new 40 FPS option, which are like 40 frames per second. That's a bit weird, but because it divides equally into 120, they can do it, and it feels right. There's no skipping or judder that you'd get if it was on a 60 hertz monitor. But it's really really
if
interesting.
if anyone else does it, I don't think we've had it on any other games. It's
Can't
certainly
think of
not
any.
that
No.
late. No, but it'd be interesting to see if this does continue
whether other
into
whether other developers start to
yeah,
leverage it. Because the thing
well,
is, it's only going to apply to those that have 120 hertz, and that
that's
we have to be in a small minority of gamers that have like the telly that has got 4K and that. Like I can't
yeah,
imagine the majority have. I mean, there was a lot of people seem to say that not everyone's got a 4K yet, which is probably again true. So it's one of those things for the developers. It's like, do we do this for like probably a niche audience? But I'm glad they did because it was a really nice way to play the game. And I played the post game stuff in 60 FPS, and I was like, yeah, this is obviously quicker and a bit smoother, but I could go back to the 40 and not feel too aggrieved.
no,
And I think probably going forward, I'd probably start with it again on another game if it's there as an option. But
yeah,
we will see. The big thing is the big fuss was made about Ratchet and Clank is about the tech, about the loading, about the dimensions, the rifts and whatnot. Where do you sit on this as an overall sort of feature? Because that was one of like the USPs of this is that it's
yeah.
leveraging these new SSDs. How did you feel they delivered on that front?
It was a bit anticlimactic, I thought.
I've heard a lot of people saying that.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's fun and amazing, but when you're watching it, you're like, it sort of happens so quick and that you sort of think, could this not have been done before? I suppose it couldn't because this is why they're making the whole thing of it. But
That was my
that
fault. Was like, could this have been done just completely scaled down before?
yeah,
Maybe,
yeah,
but then I'll refer to the experts at DF, and their opinion is that no, it couldn't be done because the
yeah,
speed's just too slow, and because in
well,
some of these worlds, like you can instantly switch between like two different versions of the same map, and they are drastically different. They are
yeah,
the way they've done it. If they're loading in the map each time, and it's just it wouldn't they'd have to reconstruct that whole transition
yeah.
and the
I
pocket
suppose in that
dimensions as well. Like there's these little pocket dimensions to go in.
yeah,
I
oh,
thought
shit.
right, they're going to be always pressed up against a wall, and what it is inside that tunnel, they've just created this little world. That's what I assumed they'd done. Like they'll sort of trick you. But there's a few of them that are against the wall, which is like, I was like, oh yeah, I can see what they're doing here, smoke and mirrors. But there's a few you can walk behind the opening of the rift, like in your universe or in your dimension, and it is you walk through that portal and you go to a new setting.
Yeah,
It's quite
I think
incredible when you start thinking about
it
it,
is.
but
But you don't get room to sort of stop and think about it.
no,
It's because it's so well done and clever. that it doesn't feel like it's something that sticks out like new tech. It's just it just naturally happens like it should. That yeah, it's just like watching a video. You think that's part of what's happening. It's so clever. You don't sit there and think, "Fuck, I've actually just gone into a new world." Like you've seen it in trailers, but
Yeah,
there's sections where you're literally being chased and you're going through multiple different levels and stuff, and it just looks like a video. Like
yeah,
that's just a cutscene, so that can't be hard to do. But yes, it's when you stop and think about what's actually going on in the tech and that you're like fucking hell. But when you're in the heat at the moment, that's like I say, it just feels like it's something that naturally happens, and that's why it felt a bit anticlimactic a bit. It's only when you stop and think about it and go, "Cool, no, that's pretty impressive."
yeah.
But yeah,
I tend to agree. Like it was certainly like the game looks fantastic. The level of detail they've put on the characters. Like I don't know if you went in the photo mode at all.
I didn't, to be honest. I'm normally a photo mode whore, but I never did in this one.
I never do, and I didn't on this occasion. But again, I was
Ah,
watching someone on YouTube. It might have been a Digital Foundry video where they zoomed in on like Ratchet
oh,
and Rivet's fur, and like
yeah.
the detail on like each
Mm.
strand was absolutely insane. There's shell casings on the floor that are fully rendered, fully like
Oh,
asseted. There's little tiny bugs that are about a centimeter big. Not a centimeter, maybe a few inches big in the game. You zoom in the photo mode, and they're fully rendered creatures with eyes, and there's fucking ray tracing reflecting off their eyeballs as well.
yeah.
It's like there is this insane level of detail there, but again, you know, you're not really sitting there looking at that at the time and taking it in. However, I think it's a good game. It's solid, super fun. I don't think we're going to be speaking about this at the end of the generation, saying "Core, that was one of the crackers." And even
No.
like, I mean, this year as it's shaping out, there's a couple of steamers that might be coming down the pipeline in the holiday
Yeah.
season, but it's not one of the big kind of years I think for the like, top video games. It will probably be in the game of the year discussion, but more so that's a bit
Yeah.
of a I think it's a bit
That's
of
a
a
bit of
statement on we haven't had
yeah.
like some real two or three big absolute steamrollers, in my opinion, just yet.
Yeah, it was. It certainly felt more of a showcase of the console.
Yeah,
Certainly, well, one thing we haven't discussed yet is the introduction of like it wasn't as good as the use of haptic feedback. That was sort of another thing that was being. It wasn't as
yeah,
good as the implements from what was that called? Astro's
no,
Playhouse or whatever it's called, Playroom.
yeah.
That was incredible, but you did have quite a bit. The guns sort of you could feel the
You
click
could
and
half pull like a gun and like it'll bring out your like aim. Say for like a grenade, one of the weapons, you could sort of pull it down. There's like you could feel a bit of tension. It will stop you, and that will like bring the aiming reticle out. Then once you got on target, you just pull it down and finish it off. That was quite nice.
yeah, that was a nice thing. It was sort of it was like almost like an alternate sort of shooting mode, wasn't it, on some of the guns and stuff. Um, yeah, but it was very short as well. I didn't realize how short this one was. I seem to by memory that it's definitely sort of 5 hours shorter than the 2016 game.
All right.
Because yeah, I think I remember I clocked in. I think mine was about 11 or 10 or 11 hours, something like that,
Mm,
and that was getting the old trusty platinum.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, nice, short and sweet. It was like I say a visual showcase, technical showcase. Um, I liked like the stories. Like it's serviceable. Characters are again what sort of made it. I quite like the inclusion of the new character Rivet. The sort of connection. I quite like how they sort of you had like the alternate versions of it if you
Yeah.
chose. You had like what's his name, Clank. Um,
Kit.
this one I can't remember what it was called.
Kit.
Kit, that was it, Kit. And sort of so you go through sort of half of the game or not sort of half of the game, but sort of you do missions with Kit and Rivet.
That's it.
Then something happened in the story, and you'd switch it, and then you're back to Ratchet and Clank, and you sort of got the sort of the four of them. The dynamic of their characters sort of worked really well,
Hmm.
and they were likable characters. So yeah, and
Yeah.
trusty old Doctor Nefarious was knocking about.
Yeah. It was good. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Well, here's one for you. How long to beat?
Yeah.
Rift Apart, we've got main story 11 hours,
Oh.
main story and extra 14 and a half hours, completionist 17 and a half hours.
17, I don't know. Well, to be honest, my PlayStation thing,
Eh,
I think that is fucking up, but I don't
2016, 10-hour main story. God, main extra
now.
12 hours, but completion is 22 hours. So maybe there's more.
Maybe it's
Maybe
that.
there's more
I did
side
go for
stuff.
the platinum in the
No,
second
I
one, but
didn't.
it did require
Another.
a full second
Yeah.
playthrough. And there's this fucking trophy. I remember I still got to try and get it. Well, I probably never will now. But it was you had to shoot every single type of enemy with this disco gun and make them dance.
Oh
I
God.
was like, I've got to go through the whole game, making sure I shoot every type of enemy with this
Yeah,
gun.
that's not
So
ideal.
no, this one was I
Nice,
like
easy platinum, really, wasn't it?
easy play. If I can do it in one playthrough and it's a little bit of extra fodder, I'm happy to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I
yeah,
did the extra fodder in the 60 mode, and it probably took me another 2 hours. It could have been done quicker, but I had balled something up during the main run. I'd like not killed enough of a certain enemy, and I hadn't leveled one of the weapons up to unlock one of its features and whatnot. That's quite cool. The leveling up of the weapons, you normally get to like level 5, and you'll unlock a new mode on it and whatnot, and then you can manually pump points into it. It's tons and tons of weapons. It goes without saying that they are great.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice, brisk playthrough. I probably took a bit longer than most person because I was fucking about for ages trying to clear down maps before not really realising that some of the parts you have to go back with a new power or a new, it wouldn't unlock a certain part until you progressed enough in the story. But it is what it is. Insomniac deliver another game inside 12 months. Where are we sitting on scores for Rift Apart then?
Doors on the doors. I'd probably give it an 8, I reckon. I think it was pretty good, serviceable. Nice little showcase. No, it's one of these games. It's been the year of the platformer, the adventure platformer.
Yeah.
Um, and the nice thing about this game is it's one of these games where you ain't got to concentrate
No, you
too
just
much.
switch off and
Switch off, play it, get what I want to
it'll
done.
almost play itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I played it in don't know, 5 or 6 sessions, I think, and it was just a couple of hours every night. And then
Yeah.
also I was like, cool, it's done. And that was it. I was done with it then. I sort of didn't need to do anything else.
No.
And yeah, so um, yeah, I think 8 for me. What do you reckon yourself?
I'm gonna be a little bit more generous and say 8.5. I
Eight
did
and a half.
yeah, I did like the when I tried to break the tech, I couldn't because
Right,
it was being
yeah.
done properly, and I was like, that's really interesting, and I liked the story and whatnot. I like the way the direction they've gone, and this felt like from a technical perspective, it was pretty good. I was thinking like this could be a 9 at one point, but I did have some issues on traversal where I would like. There's one part where there was another like island on this map to get to, and I was high enough. And I thought, I'll just jump and like glide over because you get like gliding boots at some point that let you hover. I
Yeah.
jumped. I was gliding. I saw the trajectory. I was on course to make it, and they just killed me because I hadn't done it and I thought, oh, that's a bit shit because it's stopping me because I'm supposed to do it another way somehow. I couldn't figure out for the love of money what way was. Turns out you do just glide across it, but just from a different area of the map. And I was like, right,
There was a couple of bits.
what are these invisible walls I keep bumping into as well? When I'm
Yeah.
going off piste.
They sort of stuck in a couple of fucking Metroidvania sections where
Yeah,
I kept trying to 100% each planet before going on to the next.
yeah,
I was like, there was one where there was sort of there was like sections in water and stuff, and there was collectibles or something or
yeah,
like a resource I needed to get, but I couldn't get to it, and I was like, why the fuck can't I land on this fucking little
yeah,
land? Why can't I get this? And then it's like later on down the line, you find out you're going back to that thing, and then that section's there, and I'm like, oh right.
mm,
But they don't sort of tell you. There's like you think they might have stuck a little thing saying, "Oh, you can come back later." So a little couple of niggles there,
yeah.
yeah, it was quite interesting that they added that into it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that it's slowly introduced like new little skills, like whether it was wall running or hovering on the floor, like you could travel quite quickly at some point. Then there's the like the little rift pulling things, and yeah, I just felt like there was enough different items and skills and stuff to keep it entertaining. So I'll give it just
Yeah,
scrape it up a
but
little bit.
I wouldn't grumble at an 8.5. That's perfectly fine. It was
Luigi's
good.
Mansion 3.
As I said, it's the year of the fucking platformer, mate.
Did you play the previous two?
No, but I did a Joe Apps and I watched them both on YouTube.
Worthwhile?
No, no, they're good to be fair. Well, to be actually, no, they're not because they're on that fucking 3DS and they look
Yeah,
like utter garbage.
arse.
Yeah, but the concept of the game, like the actual hook and um, the gameplay, I mean, it's actually quite fun to play, even though it's very repetitive.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but no, I wouldn't suggest going back and playing them on that old 3DS, that old boiler of a console. I don't, was it that what the original was on? No, I think that was on GameCube, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I can't. Yeah, I
And
think
then
it
they done like a remaster on
on
3DS, which it worked.
3DS, which has to be. Yeah, that can't be
And
any
then they
good.
released two on 3DS. I was like, cool. I wish they'd do a one and two remaster on the
Yep.
Switch. That's what I was hoping for. But three, three was the first game I saw. Clarky bought it, and he had it
Yep.
on. He just bought an OLED, and he showed me Luigi's Mansion on an OLED.
720p or 1080p.
720p OLED, and I was like, "Oh, look at this! It's got ray tracing and like these reflections." It really did sort of blow my mind of how good it looked graphically, and I was like, "Wow!" And I think that's what urged me to go and buy it. Obviously, I think it done well, good reviews as well, and I was like,
Mm,
"Okay." So, but this was my first entry to Luigi's Mansion,
yes.
and typical Mario-esque game, stupid throwaway story. This time it's Luigi goes to a mansion, unbelievably. This
Oh.
time it's not a mansion though, this time. This is a hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Hotel, and it's run by ghosts. And the ghosts, guess what they do? They kidnap Mario and
Oh
and
God.
Peach and all the
Oh.
fucking toads. And it works well in this because it's a hotel, so you've got, I think there's quite a lot. It's about 17 floors, I think it was, and a couple of basement floors.
And they levels basically. Each
And
floor
they're
like a new
levels, yeah.
level. Okay.
So you'd go through the level, and each level would be themed. So you don't go through like a fucking, I don't know, like a Egyptian theme. Then there's like a
Okay.
fucking,
Were the
uh,
ghosts Egyptian themed? Like, do they have
yeah,
like?
yeah, yeah,
Ah.
yeah. Each one would be like Egyptian. Then there's like a movie theater that you go through, a stage thing, and the levels themselves were really crafted well, like, and all that different variety. Um, and each time you go through the level, you get to the end, and then there'd be a boss, and the boss would then give you, once you defeat the boss, would give you the button to go into the elevator to get to the next floor.
Okay. Is it
So
all
you're
linear?
working
You have to linearly
all in
go,
a
and
yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
yeah.
like freedom to go. I'll
Oh,
go
yeah,
and
you couldn't just go to the top or nothing. No, you start at the bottom. It sort of changes it up a little
right.
bit. You start going up the levels of the hotel. Then
Can you
it
go
extends.
back?
You can go back down, yeah, and complete some more stuff of it if you want.
Like
There's
collectibles and
collectibles,
stuff. Okay.
yeah,
Right.
little
Yeah.
collectibles. Then it starts to go down low. Then you go back up. Then you have to go back down. Then you go back up, and then you start working your way right to the top. But yeah, the puzzle elements of this game. If you've never seen any gameplay from it, basically you're Luigi with a vacuum gun.
Yeah. Not
The
quite the Ghostbusters
Not
proton
quite,
packs.
no, not the proton packs, but you can suck and blow. Now,
I have
make
plenty of
your
people that can do
innuendos
that.
there. You can suck and blow. They also introduce you got a flashlight as well, which it's one of the hottest most when you first pick up this game. You're like, what the fuck? How do I control this? So you're spinning your character around. You've got 3D movement in
Yep.
it's much like that 2D 3D world
Got a bit of
game.
depth to it. Yeah.
Bit of depth to it, but so you've got rather than having a camera and your movement, you've got right hands on the torch that you're carrying around looking, and left hand is on your suction thing. So you don't
Oh.
have a camera. You're sort of spinning. It feels fucking weird. And when you're playing it at first, it takes you a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes to accustom just the movement. It's you do start soon to like master it after a while. Um, but there's so many little things. Not so many. There's a handful of different options that you get. Like I say, you can suck and spit. You can suck and blow your vacuum. You can shoot out plungers that
Okay.
you can then suck. You've got this um, light. You've got your flashlight that you have to use to flash like the ghosts, the enemies,
Like weaken
or
them, does it? When you
weaken it. That sort
okay.
of startles them, and then that you're able to suck them in and kill them. And then you have this bashing, so you suck them into a sort of little meter. You have to suck them to get them in, and then you can bash them to kill them.
Oh,
Um, but
brutal.
it also implements us into the puzzle. So you'll like find a picture on the wall, and you have to you can either suck or blow it. You can put your flashlight at it and flash it. So you build up your flashlight so it flashes and something happens. Or you also have this like a black light, is it? It's like that sort of thing, like a UV type black light thing, and that
Hmm.
will show up like hidden doorways or stuff. So
Stains
that's it, yeah. So you'll get through
from the
halfway
spitting,
through.
probably.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get halfway through a level and you'll just be like, right, fuck. I know there's something here that I've got to do,
Hmm.
but you've got to try and work out after, like, he obviously introduces these elements slowly at the start.
Yeah.
By the end, you're like, fuck, what is it going to be? So you're going through all these different things, right? Is it the
You know,
flashlight? Is it
gadgets
the
and
dark light? Am I pulling this? Am I blowing this? Um, but yeah, so it's a bit of a fucking head fuck at first. You're trying to control these two
yeah.
things on the fly that's never controlled like any game I've ever played. You're trying to find your way through the level, the puzzles. You're trying to get attacked by these ghosts. And it sounds like a right kerfuffle. Like, it's fucking like, what's going on here? But you do start soon learning to muster it. And like I say, the way the levels are panned out and the way the puzzles are introduced and the bosses, the boss fights are brilliant.
Yeah.
It is. It's a great little platformer game, and it does change up the formula. Like I suppose the three games are quite similar in this sense of gameplay,
Hmm.
but the
Not.
way this one was set, the different levels and
Yeah.
different worlds, it was quite fun to play through. To be honest,
All they had to do was call it Luigi's Hotel, new series, and then they wouldn't have had this problem of having two
no,
or three. But like,
no,
so definitely got my eye on it just because it seems quite unique. Like, I don't think there's much out there that plays, or at least has this sort of setting at the very least. So I think I might even have it. I may have bought it and just not played
I
it. Like, I've
remember you
done.
saying it. But it's probably one of the best looking games I've seen on Switch.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
it's very minimal, like in what like I say, it's the environment's just it's almost like a sort of Ratchet and Clank Pixar-esque game
yeah.
because the environments there's very little there. Pete, you're just fucking not Pete. What's his name? Luigi on his own. He doesn't say he makes fucking weird noises like he does. Yeah, basically that throwaway story.
Ah,
That's the same, but it really is just the gameplay in this game, the level environments, the gameplay, and the puzzles. It's all what this game is about, and it it is a neat little package that I definitely recommend to anyone to play.
hmm.
Um, if yours, it's quite long for this type of game.
Yeah, I remember you
Uh,
playing it. It's like, and you're still playing it. Like, Jesus,
yeah,
he's been
I
hammering
think I
at that for a little while. I think he had a break halfway through or
Yeah,
something,
I
and
think
then
that's what it's again one of these ones. It suits the Switch perfect because you can play a level, knock it on the head, and come back. And that's what I did. Classic Adkins. Played about 10 levels, binned it, and then I recently went on holiday and I took that with me. And I was like, I'll finish that off and sat up and polished it off. And I'm glad I did because it was good and
excellent.
yeah, gets my seal of approval. I'd say.
Well, let's hear the final score then to give it its full sort of level. Where's it going to slot in on the Adkins meter?
Hey, it's very. It's hard to fault it for what it is. So. I'll go 8.5. 8.5, I think I'd stick it at. It's very good.
Nice little silver for
Still
it.
still longing for this for the the story that really grips me. He's a crack addict, trying to live in this hotel.
I do wonder about these games whether we're ever going to get like because they're so light-hearted. It's like we always say, "Oh, the story's no good." It's like, well, what? Unless they go like, are we never going to be satisfied unless we get Luigi the crack addict? I don't know.
No, exactly. I'd love to see it, but no, it's great. It's all about the gameplay
Yeah,
and the puzzles and stuff, and they're spot on. The boss battles are great, the level environments, the variety of what you're doing. The gameplay is a bit repetitive, but you're doing so many different things different ways. It doesn't feel repetitive,
no,
and it's sort of it's a breeze to play, pick up and play jobby.
you're
Top
off.
marks. Yeah, it's good. So I'd
Ex-
say a solid 8.5. A solid 8.5.
Excellent. Well done, Nintendo. Thank you. Capcom,
Cute,
Resident
cute.
Evil Village, first
Oh,
person survival horror. Now, the
oh,
little
the mood
story
changing.
was on Resident Evil 7 is that you watched a playthrough first, then went back and played it,
Oh,
so
yes.
you didn't go in blind, which may have lessened the scars that you'd get from that game, because I certainly still wake up with a cold sweat being chased around by that Spider Woman in that fucking greenhouse or whatever it was.
I think I vaguely remembered it from watching, but it,
Still
that's
shit you up.
still shit me out, especially that bit where she fucking. Oh, actually, it's a spoiler, but they still definitely shit me up, and um, yeah, yeah. I think there's definitely bits I didn't remember, but it was weird, and I'm glad I did go through and play it, because it was a continuation in story
Yeah.
and great. But eight, number eight,
Well, not allowed to
it,
say that, are you? Because they called it Village
yeah,
and not even put 8 in it. Strange. But come on then, eye level. What are we looking at here? We've got more first person. We've got lichens. We've got all sorts of nonsense. Some
we got
saying, well, it's not survival horror anymore. It's too much of an action game. The Duke, his economy breaks it. It's too easy. Like, I mean, what's going on there?
I
There's a
mean, I shit my
load of
pants.
noise. Well, I did as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird because it certainly is more action than seven. I think it does lose
Undoubtedly.
its its horror aspect. Horror that was in seven was the claustrophobic feeling of walking around that fucking house and
Yeah.
being chased by all those cunts. Um, this game had like section. It was more, even though you left. Get into spoiler territory here. Even though you didn't stay in certain sections of the in the areas in seven, you went off to other sections. There wasn't many.
No.
Whereas this, there's so many different sections, and they're
Stark
completely
differences, yeah.
exactly stark difference. They're almost different games. They're like little genres of games that are completely different. And I'd say that's too. It's as a positive, that's a positive thing. It was a nice sort of blend. It never sort of felt out of place. It stayed within its story and the realm, and it was meant to. But it was quite. It felt strange and not resi.
Yes.
That you were sort of going off to different missions, even though it was all set in this one big world map thing. And you could sort of. It even had that sort of Bloodborne esque um, map opening where
Little
you'd sort of
shortcuts and
see you'd sort of go through a section of the game, and then you'd go through that section, and all of a sudden you'd come to a gate, and then you open the gate and walk through and go, oh fucking hell, back here again.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Um, yeah, it was a different experience and one I very much enjoyed. Probably the most um, strangest marketing of a game I've ever shown, seeing as they marketed the hell out of one section of the
Yeah.
game so much that you thought that was going to be the main focus of the game, and then in reality it was like
It's just a part
10,
of it.
20% of the game, if
Mm.
that, 20, 30% maybe. But
When I said this of Adcock, I actually appreciated that because once I got out of that area, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I've got literally no idea what's going to
No.
what's ahead of me, because all I've seen is this castle, this Lady Dimitrescu, this vampire woman. That's all I've seen. And then once that's all kind of put to bed and dealt with, and you're out of there, I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go after this.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
goes some crazy places.
It does, yeah. Some places don't hit as good as others,
No.
and that's variety, and people probably will disagree and stuff. So it's nice that there is a variety. Um, but yeah, yeah, it was it was a weird mind fuck, and like I say, I mean, there's sections of the game that fucking made me shit my pants,
Yeah.
but I felt like I shit my pants a lot more in Seven,
Yeah, I
and I
did for
was
sure.
certainly as terms of survival horror as well. I remember sort of fucking not, even though we just had them mold fucks flopping around the house, you still only had a handful of bullets. I felt like Rambo
You
in
could make your
Seven.
own bullets. Like, you could craft your own
Yeah,
bullets. You could buy them off that slop, and
yeah,
you were away. It was definitely a shift in, like, I never felt too constrained on resources. Although a lot of the times I felt like I could have like 100 handgun bullets, and I was like, yeah, boy. And I would normally bump into something that would clean me out, and I'd be like, cool, I've just squandered all that. But it wasn't too much of a challenge to get it back.
no, no, and them fucking lichens, the way they kept moving.
Yeah, they dodgy little fucks, aren't they?
But there was that was thing I remember you saying in your review of Seven that the one of the downsides to Seven was its enemy variety. It
Yeah.
really had fuck all, and it was just literally just them mold fucks. And this, yeah, you start off with lichens, and you end up with fucking God knows bat things that are flying
Oh,
after
yeah.
you. Fucking anything.
Little zombie fucks coming out the ground, and
Zombie fucks coming out the ground. Big fucks.
yeah, boss it. Yeah, it's got a. They throw a lot at this. I
Yeah.
don't know if it all necessarily sticks, but
No, it's strange, and I like the way they done the different areas. It was sort of like, what was it, four? Was it four different areas,
yeah,
4 or 5? That, but they all had their own bosses, and they sort of the sort of sections tailored themselves to that boss.
yeah,
Um, and it was felt very sort of like video gamey in the sense that you'd sort of go through these different little subworlds, and then
yeah.
you continue on your story, but it was all connected.
That's it.
Like you
Yeah,
say, some didn't hit as much as others, but there was definitely some great variety and a change of pace.
yeah. I kind of, there's part of me that wishes or hoped that at some point it would let me go to those locations in any order. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's
yeah,
something for a future game where they'll be like, okay, there's like these, we've marked these 4 areas, go as you please. And you have to kind of be clever about how you design the game at that point, because you don't want someone to go somewhere where they're not equipped to deal with
no,
what's going on, because that'll be a nightmare. So this does have like a linear path you have to follow, and it does. I think it's designed to get progressively harder, and I think it probably does. Like, they certainly start putting more powerful enemies and more enemies at you in like the latter half of it. But I would be interested to see what a Resident Evil game looks like, where you've got a bit more freedom to go to a set area, and how that would work. But that wasn't to be for here.
nah.
But
How did you find the absolute dripping and oozing in Resident Evil 4 nostalgia?
well, I'm not one of these people that has a wank over Resident Evil 4. Like, I see a lot of people comparing it to that, and actually kind of not, and using it as something to attack Village with, saying, "Oh, 4 does this better," or
Right,
"Oh,
yeah.
it's trying to reference 4, but it doesn't quite put it off." And I was a bit like, it kind of does, like it's set in a village, but I still think they're too, like, if you try and
Yeah.
go down that route of compare it to what is considered an all-time classic, you're always going to come up with a black eye on Village's case. It's just not going to hold up to that scrutiny, even though you can't move and shoot in that game that no one fucking talks about anymore. And you can just kick people down and knife them, but no, don't talk about that either. But that's not allowed. Not allowed to say that.
Can't be doing that.
It's literally perfect. So I think that the more I kind of see why people do it, because it's set in the village and
Yeah.
whatnot. But I was like, other than that, I felt
No.
like it was kind of its own thing
Yeah.
in
It's
many
I suppose
aspects.
they took a lot. in terms of little things like obviously like the Duke that you've mentioned. That's
Yeah,
something
merchant and
7. That was quite a nice thing to have. It was almost like a safe room that you always had that
yeah,
sense in 7 and even in the 2 remake and 3. You sort of certainly when you're being chased by the big fucks or getting through a section that is tense and fucking pulling at the fucking fear factor. Once
yeah,
you get to that area where the Duke pops up, you sort of, oh, thank fuck, I can breathe and
yeah. That's
have
it.
a bit of time to catch your breath
Lady
and.
Dimitrescu didn't want to mess with him. She wouldn't come in his room.
Oh,
She was rolling
exactly.
around chasing you. But
Waiting for him to break that really fucking shit us up. I thought that might happen in this game where I'll get to one of those things and he just goes nope and walks in and go fucking
steams
hell.
in and kills the Duke, and you're like, no.
That
They
would
should
be
do
it.
that one day. That would
Yeah,
definitely
just
be.
to really fuck with you. I just remember the was it was like one uh Last of Us Part 2 where you get to like a fucking bench
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden as soon as you get on it, some fucker comes and rams you and
yeah,
smashes your head on it. I was like, that is brilliant.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, something I was going to say. Yeah, sorry, with Resident Evil 4, yeah, things like that, Duke, and the currency, the diamonds thing,
yeah. Those
these
little
treasures that
crystals.
you find. That was obviously heavily influenced for 7, and the management of the inventory that you had.
Mm,
Um, you had the what was it like in 4? Sorry, in 7 and remake, you had pouches that
that's
you
it.
then have
Yeah,
to block. Whereas this was almost like a Tetris-esque. You had like so many blocks, and you could sort of fit stuff into them, but you could actually work it so if you moved certain items, say like small grenades and bullets, you could put them up, then you
yeah.
have enough to put
You could
a sniper rifle in or something like that.
you could efficiently like organize things
Yeah.
if you needed to, but they added in the other sort of parts about the cooking and collecting like
Oh
meat and stuff and
yeah.
fish, which I've dabbled with, but done some
Yeah,
interesting things for sure.
yeah, it's sort of that sort of stuff took a sort of bit of a backseat for me.
Yeah,
I'd done it just to sort of have a little go, but once I'd done it, like especially certainly the cooking and the meat and thing, it didn't really. Well, at first, it didn't really explain it well how to actually do it. So I think I collected a shitload of fucking like pigs
sold it off.
and sold it off, thinking that I sold it to the Duke and he'll give me a recipe, but didn't realise that it was a little bit later into the game once it unlocked. So I'd
Uh,
sold all my resources before I could even get anything out of
that's
it.
like sloppy design to me. Like as soon as you get those materials, it should tell you what to do with them. Because I know a couple of people that did that. Sold like the first bits of meat or fish they got, and then it wasn't until later that it unlocks the ability to actually hand in that stuff to Duke. Because you don't really want to keep it in your inventory because it's taking up fucking space. So it's not like it's burden free carrying that around. It's not. So that was a bit
No.
of an oversight on their part, but yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. What would you
Yeah.
score wise on this old village?
Well, one thing that was also a criticism in 7 was the character of Ethan Winters.
Mm.
I felt like we got more of a sort of character synopsis in this. He's sort of a bit more development. He's sort of
Still
talking a lot
cover his
more.
face.
Still cover his face. You even saw a third person view of him in cutscenes
Yeah,
that's
but
still sort of, hello.
only the back of his head. And also, if you go in the models, you can buy the models with the currency after you
Oh,
complete it.
sorry.
His face is blurred out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Cool, they really have.
they want to
But
hide it.
I, again, I mean, if he was a silent protagonist, I'd be moaning about that. So at least we did get one. But
Yeah, he's not like Artem.
it was quite good that something was happening in these games. Certainly certainly 7 and this one, to the point where we were pissing ourselves laughing.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were just sort of like,
It's like,
how's this happening?
I was like, it's Resident
And
Evil. I'll accept it, but
yeah,
that's
it's
almost a
fucking
step too far.
ridiculous. And then all of a sudden that is explained, and you're like, oh right, okay. So
Yeah,
like in terms of the story, it was serviceable and explained. It'd be interesting to see where the franchise goes now.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's a tough one to score. I did really enjoy my time with it. Like I say, there were sections of it that didn't hit as hard and stuff. I probably go with an 8 again. I reckon
Flat 8 for it.
flat
That's what
8.
me and
Yeah.
Adcock gave it. So
Oh, was
eight
it? Oh,
eights across the board for that young puppy.
that's.
Would you do you prefer 7 or 8?
I preferred the horror of 7,
Yeah, I do as
but
well. It's worse to
yeah,
play in terms of like pants
I think
brown, but
that. I think that's like 7 shit the life out of me. That's why I didn't play it first because I can't deal with the first person horrors. It's why I'm still fucking waiting to play this Alien game because I know it's gonna shit the pants out of me.
I will.
And it took me
So good though.
2 to 3 years to buck the courage to actually play it. And once I had, I was so glad I had because it's such a diversion from, like I say, I always will be a third person Resi guy. I love the
Yeah,
franchise, but that was such a different experience, and it brought the horror back. Like that's the trouble with the third person games; they become too actiony because although seven remake 2 brought some of the horror back, but
yeah,
they do inevitably get more actiony, and the horrors diminishes and diminishes. And 7 was just fucking. It was horrible to play in a good way.
no, yeah.
Um, and yeah, I did definitely felt that I lost that sort of sense of horror in most of 8. So yeah, I think I prefer 7 over it just slightly, but I thought 8 was a decent game, and worthy of a seal of approval and a recommendation from the Dimp Digital boys.
That's it. Silvers across the board. Excellent. Right, final game. We're going
Oh,
to turn back the clock a little bit here. I don't know how in depth you need to or want to go with
yeah,
this, but you
this.
recently went back in time to a
Oh,
little known game called Portal 2007.
well, that was 7. Good lord.
First of all,
Yeah,
what's going on here? Why is that getting resurrected out the bins? And then secondly, I can't believe you hadn't played it before.
I know, unbelievable. I feel like I swear I bought the orange box
Yes.
on 360. I'll have to go and have a look on my Xbox game thing and go right back to the beginning and see if it's on there.
Yes.
But what did that include? Team Fortress,
Portal 1,
Portal.
Portal 2, Half Life 2, I think.
Oh, did it? That Portal 2 on it as well, did it?
Let's have a look. Orange box. Dee 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 dee. Oh no. No. So it just had
No, Portal 1.
it had Half Life, it looks like.
Right.
Yeah, Portal,
Oh,
Team Fortress. Not
oh,
as good then, in my
it's
eyes.
good. No. So, Master Race, Jobby. When I entered the world of Master Race in 2013, I went through the little known numbers from Valve. I went through the Half-Life 1. I went through the Half-Life 2. Done the most un-Adkins thing ever and went through half Portal 2. And I think in my brain I must have thought, I bought the orange box. I must have played through one already. I ain't doing that again.
Yeah.
So binned it unbelievably because it's such a 2 was such a brilliant game. 2 with Stephen Merchant taking the
Oh,
helm.
yeah, yeah. Two's,
Brilliant.
yeah.
I want to go through that again
I
after
do,
playing
yeah.
because that was so good. Um, but yeah, fast forward to 2013, went through the fucking thing, got the T-shirt Master Race, went back crawling to the fucking. Obviously, my Pete Master Race fucking became a low tier PC after a week, like it does. of buying it. I was down with the peasants. Went back to the console peasants, and yeah, fast forward to 2021. Atkins is back in the Master Race.
Well,
Cool. Got himself a new PC. This
stolen
little
it, I've
nut
heard.
stolen it off of a one. No, hold on the screen. Is
That's
that
it.
one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone round.
It's that
That
black
guy.
box
Oh, it's
there.
gone that one over there. Wherever he's gone. Oh, I've got a new PC, mate. So got
Hmm.
a new PC, and what I was doing was just well, first I was trying to install games that I knew weren't fucking 100 gig, so
Yeah.
I could get them. And I
Yeah.
was going through my little Steam list, and I was like, "Cool, what can I test?" And I thought, I've never. Oh my god, I've never played OG Portal."
Yeah.
So fired that up, and I was like, "Oh, let's play that." And found myself, obviously, because it's a Valve game, so it's very well optimized.
Oh,
Was managing to
yes.
play it at native 4K on my 120 hertz OLED.
Television, yeah.
So it's now become the most console PC you'll ever find. That will kill Salmon, that will. Just to let him know that I bought the PC when he asked, he said he wanted it for his friend, and I've turned it into a
There
console.
you go. Just what he wanted. Was you
But yeah, so
mouse
that
and
was
keys or was it controller, full
no,
console?
no, that's it. Although I have bought a wireless mouse and keyboard, so the option is there. I
The
can just
option's
sit on my
there.
little sofa and do the old mouse and keys. But no, I did. I think you have to. I don't think there is a controller support for Half-Life, so I went through them with mouse and
Yeah.
keyboard. But no, I said fuck off to the Master Race boys, and I played with controller. But yeah, so was to be honest, I probably played this for about an hour, just fucking about with the optimizations as
Yeah,
you
well,
do with fucking
that's what
games on
happens, yeah.
PC. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was getting fucking ridiculous frame rates at 4K, ridiculous frame rate, even better at 1440p.
Yeah.
Loving life, and yeah, one session, one night,
Banged
I
it
went
out.
through, bang the whole lot out. Just under clocked in just under 3 hours, I
Yeah,
think my
it's
little
not it's
screen says.
the difference between 1 and 2 is quite stark because 1 feels like obviously 3 hours or whatever is 4 hours tops, and 2 felt like, whoa, they've
15
this is
or
yeah,
13.
this is they've really expanded this game.
Brilliant.
They've put a full blown story in it with narration and stuff. Like it was a real
Hey, I remember, was it like painting the second one as well? Got to a bit where there's like it's like
yeah.
fucking
You get
Splatoon
ink.
at
You get
one
like
point, that was it.
ink. Yeah, there's a lot more mechanics brought into it. With
I
this,
was thinking, I was waiting for that to turn up in the first game. I was like, oh no, so that's all
nice.
just been evolutionized in the second game.
Yeah, it's a real
Uh,
good sequel.
but
But
yeah, it was interesting just to see the sort of foundations of what it was built on. Um,
yeah,
you know, as a game as a whole, it's lovely, short and sweet. 3 hours just to play through. Puzzles are fantastic. Just the use of that gravity gun,
yeah,
portal gun. Sorry, not
yeah,
gravity gun. I'm getting mixed up here. Um, yeah, just quite fun, and then a nice little boss battle at the end. And although you think you're at the end, and then you fucking got another like hour of trying to get out, and you're like, "Oh, what's going on here?" But Portal is great. Like as a whole, like that, I would love a Portal 3. That'd be
yeah.
brilliant. I think I'd prefer a Portal 3
Getting
over a Half-Life 3.
wow. Well, what if they did it
I mean,
VR only?
oh,
Cool.
that's true. I
Dirty
was very late.
bastards.
I was quite late to the Portal hype, to the Half-Life hype, so I don't have that nostalgia. I did enjoy my time with the games, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I really love Portal. Portal's fantastic, and it's hard to fault it, to be
No, it is a
honest.
great package. I was tempted when you said you'd gone back to it. I thought, I might stream that one day, like do one
It's one that
session,
would
like
be perfect because you could, like you say, I think I've got about 5 or 6 people that have played it on my list, and
yeah,
all of them are under 3 hours long. So it's lovely, sweet, great little one to
two
hop
point
on.
nine hours. Mine was.
2.9, there you go. Get back on and go. I think did you do it? Even a couple of bonus levels. I tried them. Some of them are fucking hard as well. They're like challenges.
Yeah, it's
Um,
I think you
great.
can like make your own and stuff, and like people, it's like a community where you can. It might be Portal 2, but they opened it up at some point where you could, make your own levels and all sorts of business. But yeah, it's a great game, really.
Great, great little number.
See, when Valve are firing all cylinders, this is what can be produced.
Can be produced.
So
Yeah.
Gabe's
Make
got his
me.
fucking feet up, going, "Give me that Steam Deck money, and then I'll think about making a
Oh,
new game."
give me a fucking.
Portal 3 Steam Deck exclusive.
Oh, that would be the real tickler. Imagine that. Give me a fucking
Only,
non-VR
only
version.
runs on the top end model. A new model coming in at
That would be
1,000
brilliant.
UK pounds.
You have to have the fucking
Daddy
glare
model.
resistant
Yeah,
screen to play
it's
it.
built into the mechanics. You have to like shine it into the sun, and it produces a
Oh,
light
give
beam
me
that will get you through the next
lovely.
level.
Portal 3, fucking,
Get it done, Gabe.
and a non-VR version of Alex. Give me that.
Yep. Ah, yeah. It's just in
That would
my
be
eyes
lovely.
criminal. I mean, it's 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 clever, but
Mm.
I've gone through my grievances of that plenty of times. That they're good enough to make that non VR and not put it up behind that tech, but I suppose you know It's the game to have on VR, and
Yeah,
there's not too many of those, and that is one of
Resi
them.
7.
Well, one day,
If you want to brave that one day.
never, never ever. Score me Portal.
Yes, oh, it's a toughie though,
It is
because of
14 years
I
old.
was gonna say 14-year-old, and I played the Evolution, which is, obviously it's a better game
Yeah.
because it's longer, more ever, the
Some people
fucking.
might prefer the type package of the original.
That's very true. It's faultless. Maybe I'd even go a 9 on this.
Yep.
8.5 or 9. No, let's go 9 because it's the foundation of what made Portal 2. It
Agreed.
give Stephen Merchant a job,
Yeah,
our Lord and hero.
get him out of the bins.
So yeah, I'd go 9 for Portal, man. It's faultless, brilliant game. Should have
Great.
been played ages ago, not fucking in 2021.
No, well, you get round to him, you get round
And
to
it
him.
still holds up like that fucking engine.
Yeah.
It's incredible. That Steam, whatever they're using, what is
It
it?
might have been
Fucking
the
Source
Source engine, I think.
Source
Yeah.
engine, is it? Yeah,
I think so.
incredible.
Yeah,
There's
it was.
shit in there. The fucking it's hilarious in some of the story. The fucking cake story, all that good stuff. I'll tell you what I am going to play next, which you've been fucking harping at me on to play. So we'll get another review in.
Yep.
Is the Stanley Parable.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Are they releasing like a definitive
Oh, are
new?
they?
I think they're. I'll look into that because they're like releasing like an ultra version. Because I remember Hall might even have it on his fantasy gaming league thingy, but
Is it a? Is it done by Valve? Is it or?
no, I don't think
Just,
so. No.
it just has that same sort of vibe. It looks like a sort of Portal Half-Life type
Yeah,
setting, doesn't it?
it's very very strange, but it's
Very
good.
fun.
It was I think it was a mod out of like Half Life
Oh, is it?
initially, but
Right, that's where I'm getting the confusion.
developers Galactic Cafe, who I can't say I've heard of,
Oh,
but it's super fun. It's not
super fun. I've made a list, as I love my list. I've got about 10 games I've installed that are all under 5 hours long, and I'm gonna smash a lot of
Oh,
them.
there we go. I look forward to those. I like hearing about
Yeah,
these little short golden oldies.
yeah. It's ones I can't like. I even played like what's it fucking Dear Esper? It's like the first ever walking, or not first ever, but one of the original walking simulators. Gone Home,
Yeah, yeah.
um, all that good stuff. But yeah, that could be
Have you
another.
done Ethan Carter?
No, that's on there. I've got a
Yeah, that's good.
Redux version.
Yeah,
Ethan
that'll look
Clark.
nice. That will. Yeah,
The one Edith Finch I done. That was
that's
brilliant. I loved
quality.
that.
Yeah,
Firewatch. That
Firewatch
was
is
good.
good.
Virginia,
Yeah,
Abzu,
yeah.
Inside. Lovely. But yeah, if you just go on YouTube, there's a list of all like the shortest games. Crazy one that is I was gonna buy was that Vanquish Platinum's game.
Oh
Remember that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's about 9 hours long. It's like maybe that could be done.
Yes, that's like a
Like a
quite
fucking.
quite the
It's,
trendsetter, wasn't it? Back in the
oh,
day.
the character looks like that Sam out of fucking Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah,
His name is Sam, so I was like
yeah. I've
prequel.
always had that sort of half on my radar as well, but I never followed
So I
through.
I've got a link for it for £4 UK. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
it's a no-brainer. I nearly bought a tenner's worth of toot the other day. Once I got that thing, I was like looking at that, and I nearly bought Agents of Mayhem for £1. I was like,
God,
I'm never
yeah.
gonna play this game.
No,
And Shenmue 1 and 2 on PC for £2.
that might be worth a gamble
Yeah,
one
so
day.
I thought I was like, I got it up to a 10, and there was about 6 games. I was like, I'm never gonna play any of these. I'm just buying them for the fucking sake of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's
that's
the next one.
that's the
But
beauty of the PC gaming is that you can just pick up the massive bargains and the
yeah,
good thing about Steam is, which is why it's kind of the go-to. I mean, I do use Epic if the situation pops up, but you just wishlist those things.
that's
Then
it.
you get an email saying it's on sale now, and you're like, "Thanks, £2, lovely."
That's it, exactly. I've got loads of little ones. Bastion,
Yeah,
Brothers, all that good stuff. And yeah, like you say, that's the one. Gabe knows where his bread's buttered.
yeah, he does. He's
The
swimming in cash.
Steam Deck. Yeah,
Well, that's it.
cool.
Call it to close for another
Yeah,
week. Game
come.
marathons, impressions, fucking bashed out a fair old few. in this one session, again, people at home go, what are you talking about? We know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll have feet up for a
Check
while
the
now, probably.
t-shirt.
Yeah, check the t-shirt. If you're watching, it'll all be revealed. Can you piece together the puzzle? But as usual, you can head over to patreon.com/Dimp Digital if you wish to support this podcast and our other endeavours. Twitch.tv/Dimp Digital is another way you can do that via Amazon Prime and Twitch Prime Gaming. That will let you subscribe to the channel for 1 month for free, and we'll get a little kickback from that. And then you can do it again the next month, again for free. So maybe give that a go and set a reminder. But if not, don't worry. Appreciate you listening or watching if you've made it this far. But as usual, nothing more for us to say here other than thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.